Hi, welcome to Meditation and More. How are you guys doing this evening? So I'm going to just do a nice relaxation routine, just some nice calming breathing, just to get to calm, all that fun stuff. Okay, so there's a couple of ones that we've done so far, which, we'll start again from the top, but there's this one. And what we do is we put our hands at our lower ribs, also up here at the collarbone, and then alternating onto the back, just so that you can feel what it's like to get your breath expansion and contraction. Okay, great. And just so you can see, how it feels going through your body, in the front of your lungs, and also, as I turn around, just so you can see, the back of your lungs. Back here. So the back of your lungs from the top down to the lower rib, and you'll be able to find it with this thumb. And then you'll feel the lower rib with this pinky right here. Okay? Great. So we're going to focus our attention once we get to the exhalation, with no judgment and no criticism. We're just going to allow ourselves to exhale and let the breath come in naturally. So out through pursed lips, in through the nose, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, maybe 2 more times with your breath at your own pace, focusing on your exhale and letting the breath come in naturally. As you feel ready, go ahead and take that hand that was down here, noticing how the air was flowing through, and putting it alternately on the back. Okay. So you're going to take another 4 breaths, and you're just focusing your intention on the exhalation. Doing the inhalation through the nose, and we're just doing the exhalation through pursed lips. Great. So now that you kind of can feel what's going on in your lungs, just want you to go ahead and take your next, say, 10 breaths. And just notice where you are. Notice how fast the breaths are coming in. And just pay attention to your breath. Okay. So just notice where you are. And put your hand on your heart, the other on the solar plexus. Just try and see if you can notice where there's any discomfort. Any tightness. Maybe send a little bit of breath there just to expand it a little bit. See if that feels a little bit better. Okay, so today we're going to go over a little bit of self-massage. And, something that I invite you to do, you can use your hands or you can use the heel of your hands. You can just start here at the temples. Just do some nice, slow circles. You might want to do them with your breath. Inhaling it up and exhaling it down in the circle. Oftentimes what I like to do is start in the middle of my forehead and just kind of pull downwards and into right here. And just give myself a nice massage up into the hairline even. And I'll slide my fingers back. I'm going to go over the top of my ear as well. And just put some light pressure there. And slowly bring it around the back of the ear. I'm going to bring it down along the jawline. I'm going to press here from either side of the nose with this finger. I'm going to slowly alternate. I'm going to take these two, then I'll alternate, start with the third finger, and go all the way up into the temple. I'm going to slowly work my way all the way back up to the forehead, along the hairline. And then I'm going to go a little bit further into the hairline. And just kind of rub all the way around this entire hairline. I'm going to go a little further back, about maybe half an inch. Do the same thing. I'm going to keep doing that until I get all the way to the back of the head. And then I'm going to use several fingers when I get back here. Almost like rubbing back here, especially on the occipital. I really like that quite a bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of Unwind today. It's a proprietary blend of lavender and bergamot. Just going to put a couple of drops over onto my fingertips. I'm going to slowly put that up into the occipital, down onto the neck, down in between my shoulder blades, across the back, and right here along the top of the lungs. I'm trying to prevent any colds or viruses or things like that. And I'm going to take this and just put a little bit of the moisture onto my fingertips. And I'm going to start at the top of my spine and work all the way down to the tailbone. Okay? If you have any discomfort, this is lavender and bergamot, so you could go in a circle around your belly button. And if you've got any kind of, agita in your tummy or anything else like that, you can use that topically and that'll assist at that point. But also take the Unwind and put 2 drops of it and then apply it to the soles of my feet. getting it through my entire system. Great. Okay. So I think the last time we went over about the safety issues about essential oils. So we went over the safety issues. Today, I promised that we would actually go into an actual oil and discuss an actual essential oil. So let me go grab that. Hold on for a second because I just got to grab some glasses. But yeah, what we're going to do today is go a little bit over the essential oils. So we did a little bit, I guess, I would call it like a scalp or a head massage and a facial massage. But it will relax quite a bit of tension, which is really great. And so a lot of people get quite a bit of benefit from that. I think the other thing that a lot of people do with both lavender and bergamot, which is also a great benefit as well, is a lot of people will actually use them in teas if they don't like to put it directly on them. You can bake with it as well. Bergamot is what people typically refer to as Earl Grey tea. It's just really super strong Earl Grey tea. But it will have a great benefit for you. So there is that. Okay. So I apologize for taking the time just to hook that up. I didn't find the text that I decided to... Apparently I thought it was on the back, but it wasn't. It was in my room. So I had to go get it. Okay, so one of the ones that I was going to go over today, which is pretty popular, as most people know, is lavender. So I don't know. Oh, actually, you know what? We never went over chapter 4. Okay, so chapter 4 is actually the chemistry of essential oils. We're actually going out of order. Well, what we've covered so far is we covered the history of aromatherapy, method of extraction, which there were 4 different types, for those of you guys catching up. There's distillation, expression, absolutes, and I think they're going to do a lot more of it, but the last extraction method I think is going to be very common. And the reason I think it might be a little bit more common is because it's one that's really, really nice because it doesn't use heat. And something that constantly compromises essential oils for their medicinal and therapeutic properties is technically heat, okay? So, I betcha they'll eventually supersede the other methods, but, time will tell. But that would be carbon dioxide extraction and nitrogen extraction. We went over how to store the essential oils. We went over the safety issues, especially with the dilutions for babies and children, pregnancy, and people with high blood pressure. We went over the ones that you should have a medical practitioner or someone that has been practicing with it, like a wellness director, typically is adept at it, or someone who's educating in aromatherapy will also be adept. But those people will be adept at the ones that you are not allowed to take or are higher in toxicity levels. Okay. Then we went over how to use the actual essential oils. And then we went over what's called physiology. Physiology means is how does it enter the body? And then what does it actually do to benefit the body? Okay, so that was our last lesson. That was a good one. And we discussed how it would go into the body systems and how body systems respond. So that was really good. The final one that we'll go over in the end is really the chemistry. That's where we get into talking about the terpenes and, oxygenated compounds and stuff like that. super fun, ketones, and basically the lactones, the oxides, the qualities, all that fun stuff. Okay, so we'll get into that a little bit. Okay. And we were talking about lavender. Lavender is really interesting. It really is. And every supplier really likes to have their best quality lavender because it's considered one of the top 10 essential oils that people use. Okay, so it's gone to a lot. It's used frequently. People are pretty familiar with its sedative and calming effects. The most popular one is oddly French lavender. It has, though, a high content of ester. Okay, so you need to know that. And of linol acetate. So just keep that in mind. So really what you're going to want to do then is you'll have to adjust the ester content. That's probably what you're going to want to do. Or you might have to possibly add a synthetic linalool acetate. That might help, okay? To the essential oil. So just something nice to know about the quality is that a synthetic or one that is not organic and not all natural and doesn't come from the ground and is instead synthetic and man-made, those will have what's called a natural linalool acetate, and they'll make a spot, and it's almost virtually impossible to recognize this alteration, but that's how you can actually tell. So that'll help you guys out a little bit, okay? Let's see what else. If it's a real lavender, it's a true lavender, it should have at least 70%. I don't know if you guys know that. The upper limit should reach about that. And the ester concentrate's probably up at about 80%. So that'll help you with that. Technically, most synthetic esters are contaminated by small amounts of byproducts from their synthesis, okay? And this can be detected by using what's called an SIMS, and it'll target the compounds that are identified for the test, if that makes sense, okay? So that's how you can really, really test it, okay? So generally, a truly holistic practitioner will work with genuine oils. They're going to understand that there's lapses in supply and demand due to crop failures, and that essential oils generally are intended for the healing process. If you're looking for true healing, understand that this is temporary relief. Okay? So if you're looking for true healing, this is not technically scaled up. So, we invite you to understand that, and that it is something that's in addition to oftentimes a lot of other things. It might be used sometimes as more of a supplemental, if that makes sense. Okay, what else can we go over? Let's see. I generally buy them in the smallest amount possible, in the smallest bottle. And the reason that I do that is so that I have the therapeutic and medicinal purpose for longer. And one thing that I also do is I always recap all my bottles and make sure there's not a lot of oxygen or light or heat getting to it, so that way the integrity of the composition is not compromised. So we're gonna go over lavender. The one that I typically have been using a lot, or that I tend to go to a lot, is a different kind of lavender. It's called Lavandula angustifolia. All right. Some other names that it'll be called is Lavender officinalis, Officinalis, or Lavandula vera. It comes from the plant of Labiatae, all right, also known as the genus of Laminaceae, okay? Generally speaking, this shrub is in large quantities really generated from the Mediterranean region. It's commonly used as an insect repellent, but the word itself, it's based from Latin, and it means to wash. And the Romans used to use lavender in their baths. Generally, the method of extraction is what's called steam distillation. And they do it to the flowers, like the tops of the flowers. I would say that it's also in the province of France as well. So, that's why a lot of people look for French lavender. And it also, it can come from other areas, so from other countries. So that is possible. So if you do see it being produced from another country, does say it's organic, is ethically sourced, all of those fun things, most likely you have a quality essential oil. Okay. So just so you know, there should be over 100 constituents in it. That should verify that for you, okay? And as we were talking about for constituents are causes and conditions, and that can include anything from the soil that it's grown in, the climate that it's in, the altitude, okay? So honestly, the higher the altitude, the more esters are produced. Esters are the linol acetate that we were talking about before. Now, what's interesting is the linol acetate in this specific species and genus is technically, really only up to 40%. It should say on it lavandulyl acetate or geranyl acetate. Those are the two other names for it. So, don't get thrown off by that. In alcohol, there is 35% terpenin for all alpha terpinyl, linalool, boreneol, geraniol, and lavandul. For the aldehydes, it has citral and benzaldehyde. And ketones, there's octanone and camphor. For the oxides, there's 1.8 cineol, linalool oxide, and caraphenylene oxide. In the monoterpenes, there's ocimene, camphene, and limonene. Now, it should be either colorless or like a very, very light pale yellow color. I think most people have smelled lavender, but if you haven't, it's kind of like a fresh flower, a little like herbaceous smell to it. It is a middle note. So for those of you keeping track of your notes, it is a middle note. It's very versatile. And it literally blends with almost every single type of other oil. And I think that's, the top 10 oils are the oils that generally play well nice with others. No joke. Okay. Okay. Oh, the actions. Okay, so what it does for you, right? This is important. What it actually does. When I say this, we don't make medicinal claims. Okay, that's one thing that we don't do. We don't make medical claims. So when I say this terminology, understand it's action. Like the plant has an action to it. Like when you eat pepper, what kind of effect it will have on your body, the action it'll have, okay? Okay, so some of these actions will be analgesic, anticonvulsive, antidepressant. It's an antimicrobial, an antirheumatic, an antiseptic, an antispasmodic, an antitoxic, carminative, cholagogue, cicatrisant, cordial, cytophylactic, deodorant, emmenagogue, hypotensive, insecticide, nervine, parasiticide, rubefacient, sedative, stimulant, sudorific, tonic, and vulnerary. Okay? Basically what that really means is that it's a balancing and regulating oil. Okay? Initially, it's reviving and cooling. But over the long run in your body system, it is relaxing and warming. It's an extremely versatile oil. It may be used on children. It can be used for first aid and for deeper acting properties. It's relaxing and balancing to the nervous system. It calms cerebrospinal activity. It calms irritability, depression, insomnia, hysteria, shock, stress, nervous tension, headaches, migraines, vertigo, neuralgia, sciatica, and shingles. The infections are generally mild immune stimulants. And I commonly myself used it for earaches for my kids. I couldn't use it for my ex-spouse because he was allergic to grass. So that's something I actually want to put out there. You have to be really, really careful of things that are flowers or herbs or things like that. You want to just make sure that you're not allergic to them. So that's something you want to kind of check out. Now, in the circulatory system, it helps calm and regulate high blood pressure, palpitations. It's restorative and calming to the heart. For the digestive system, what's nice is it does abdominal cramps, colic, dyspepsia, flatulence, and nausea. For the respiratory system, it helps with asthma, bronchitis, laryngitis, throat infections, spasmodic coughs. For the reproductive system, it helps with thrush, pruritus, licoria, painful menses. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. For urinary system, it helps with cystitis. For muscles and joints, it helps with arthritis, rheumatism, gout, sprains, strains, bruising, lumbago, aches and pains. For skin, it helps with abscesses, acne, allergies, athlete's foot, boils, burns, bruising, dermatitis, eczema, sunburn, dandruff, ringworm, wounds, inflammation of any kind. It is an insect repellent, it's a parasiticide, and it helps with lice, scabies, insect bites and stings, and chickenpox. It is non-toxic, non-irritant, may be used undiluted, non-sensitizing. A hybrid of lavender versus lavandin, okay? Lavandin is a lavandula hybrid, okay? This means that it's a cross between true lavender and spike. Spike lavender is I think it's lavandula. I want to say it's latifolia, okay? I'm going to have to look that up later. It contains primarily the alcohols in linalool and lavender. Its uses are similar to true lavender, to be perfectly honest. So it's used more for the rubefacient properties. That means muscular aches, pains, respiratory problems, coughs, colds, bronchitis. And the reason they use lavandin is because it is non-toxic. It's a non-irritant, and it is in dilution, non-sensitizing. So for those of you that I just discussed, like lavender is from the grass family, you can have some allergies to it, you still want to get some benefits. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I like lavender. So for those of you that do have that, you may absolutely use lavandin, okay? And that's a benefit that, I'm not sure that a lot of people are familiar with. Something else that, honestly, I was looking at, and I think it's a smell that most people, if they don't like lavender, might be okay with. It's very grounding. And most people are used to it. They might not like it. It might remind them of mothballs. I'm not sure. Who knows? But it is called cedarwood. And it comes, its name is Cedrus atlantica. It's also commonly called Atlas cedar, Atlantic cedar, African cedar. And the genus is Pincinacea. Okay, so cedar trees they're pyramid-shaped, evergreen trees. They probably get up to about 50 meters high. It's a very hard wood. It's very aromatic. Very. It's technically famous in Lebanon, which were one of the earliest EOs to be extracted by the ancient Egyptians. So I thought it would be a fun one for a lot of people. It's been used for an extremely long time, so people should be fairly familiar with it. It's been used for building wood, and what everybody likes it for, as I said, mothballs, it naturally repels insects. It's typically also found in the Atlas Mountains of Algeria and also Morocco. They generally get it from steam distilling the wood and the sawdust. So what's really nice about that is you think about, byproducts and, waste in the world. And, one thing that's really nice is that cedar wood is actually able to be created, the EO, simply from the sawdust itself. So, that's really lovely. The constituents in it, the main one is caraphyllene, phlogisphene, catechine, and cydrine. And the ketones are alpha atlantoin and gamma atlantoin. The alcohols are atlantal and cedral. Oh, it's normally yellow, the color of it. I think sometimes it can get even a little bit darker. I think I have seen it a little bit darker too, so don't worry about that. I think it can even kind of get to like a yellowy orangey color, kind of like, let's look like close to that. Oh, a resin called amber is very close to the same color that it can sometimes get to. Okay, sorry. It's very viscous, okay? So the oil has a very slightly sweet smell, kind of oily, woody. I mean, you guys know that. Now, when it's starting to oddly go to the point where it's less medicinally therapeutic, and this is kind of good to know, it smells more woody. So the more aged it is, or the longer it's been exposed to oxidized. That's it, oxidized. That's when you're gonna find that it'll smell a lot more woody, okay? So you really want it to be on that lighter scent, to be perfectly honest, okay? So that's something kind of good to know. It is a base note for those of you guys needing to know your notes. It is a base note. And it does blend well with, I would say citrus, any of the cypresses, any of the other woods, especially frankincense. It smells really nice with frankincense. I've done that a bunch, actually. It can smell, I put it with neroli before, and rosemary and thyme as well. Trying to think what else. Oh, it's one of the rare ones that goes with vetiver. Very rare. And actually, guys out there, vetiver, cedarwood, copaiba, sandalwood. You guys will probably all like those. Frankincense, okay? Those are all base notes. You guys will probably all be a little bit more comfortable with the woody smells, maybe the citrus ones, or the herbaceous ones. Maybe less floral. That's a reality, But the floral ones that go nice with this one, and guys, if you're making it for your gal, sorry, is jasmine and neroli. I feel like myrrh goes really well with this too. I haven't smelled myrrh in a while. In a weird way, I've almost forgotten what it smells like. I'd have to smell it again soon. But I'm pretty sure that myrrh goes really well with this as well. I think it's the right note. Okay. Next, the actions. I like to go over those next. They tend to be antiseptic, antiseboric, an aphrodisiac. Be careful. An astringent, diuretic, an expectorant, a fungicidal, a mucolytic, a parasiticide. It's regenerative, it's sedative, and it's a tonic. So those are nice. It's warming, regenerating, tonifying. But it can be uplifting. As much as it's a grounding oil, it can be actually uplifting. Okay? They use it a lot with chronic conditions. For the nervous system, it's very balancing for the nervous system. Very soothing. Helps with typically chronic anxiety, depression, and fatigue. Or maybe not fatigue as much, more like being weary, like having like weariness to you. I think that would be a better description maybe. It's commonly used to strengthen chronic immune disorders, which I typically would put on someone that I lived with quite frequently because they had a compromised system. The immune system is strengthening. It's an astringent. It's oddly used with chronic diarrhea. And it can be useful for catarrh, coughs, bronchitis. It does help to stimulate the delay of menses. So ladies, if you're skipping your menses and you're on cedarwood, now you know. Okay. They say, it has been said that it has been useful for some people to treat leukorrhea, discharges, and venereal infections. It's supposed to relieve purisitis. It's supposed to help with chronic cystitis, arthritis, and rheumatism, and gout. Skin, it's helpful with antiseptic, astringent. It's generally used for people who have an overproduction of sebum, or their face feels oily, their hair might feel oily, they might get a lot of acne or dandruff. Those are signs. And it prevents putrefaction in wounds, ulcers, and any skin infection, because skin is degenerating. It is a fungal infection, so it can be used for athlete's foot, or can commonly be used that way, or preventing it in your shoes. It is a parasiticide for also licensed scabies. This one's nice because it's a non-toxic and non-irritant when it's diluted. So it's non-sensitizing once diluted. There's Texas and Virginian. The Texas one is called Juniperus asci, and the Virginian one is called Juniperus virginian. They share similar therapeutic properties with Atlas. And they can cause skin irritants and sensitization. So they are best avoided at times for that purpose. They can be a bit drying for the skin. So you need to take care. I would only use like maybe 1% for skincare. And only use it for 3 weeks, if that makes sense. That would be the recommendation. I think most people would probably kind of try to lean you towards a little bit. For scalp conditions, like if they have dry, dandruff, oily, you can use as much as 2% in a dilution. I might use grapeseed oil. That's one that I always typically liked a lot. Sometimes I would use some other ones, but in this case scenario, since we're talking about someone who's got oily skin, I would actually lean towards grapeseed oil. And obviously one that's graded that way to be used for the skin. I'd probably leave it maybe an hour in your scalp. I'd rub it and massage it into the entire scalp. Might even heat the oil. Maybe I wouldn't, actually. Sometimes I heat it, sometimes I don't. When I have essential oils in it, oftentimes I don't heat it. But if I'm going to do it without the essential oils, which I do actually do, to condition, I heat it. I heat the oil in the microwave for a little bit, okay? So that's something that might help y'all. Trying to think of other things I can help with for you guys. I want to say you can do it like once or twice a month, but I wouldn't do it more than that. I'd let like your natural sebum start remembering how to reproduce properly. And then if it hasn't gotten better over like that month, then I'd probably maybe do the treatment every 8 weeks, every 2 months. You know, just so it's not too expensive, too, so it's cost effective. So, I know a lot of people will ask about like skin conditions, and yes, this helps with skin conditions, but I do actually implore you that not only does this help with skin conditions, but the main thing that tends to help is your diet, your exercise, and your rest, and your hydration. So, you know, having, you know, some people have texted me about, you know, skincare. So, yeah, absolutely, for a skincare regimen, absolutely. With that also being said, I do implore those that were inquiring about that, you know, like, you know, have healthy food that you eat. When I say diet, I'm actually not referring to restricting yourself from something that you're eating. I mean it as, maybe I shouldn't say diet. Maybe I should say nutritional intake. Okay, so you'll be concerned with wanting to have, you know, a nice, well-rounded, varied nutritional intake. And when you're thinking about the variety of what you're eating, of the minerals and the other things that are good for your body, let's say you might want to consider, you know, either checking in with a nutritionist or, you know, going to your doctor and discussing that, you know, getting, you know, some things like checked out, regulated, you know, make sure your sugars are all good. So, like, you've obviously had your annual checkup, I'm sure. And I know it's been hard with COVID. But if you've been in your houses and stuff like that, I'm sure it hasn't changed too much, okay? Because, you know, most people have been social distancing and, you know, that fun stuff. Okay, great. So, okay, getting back to this. Yeah, I want to say if you were doing it for respiratory, you might want to do it 6 times a day. And if you're using it in a body oil or a massage oil or a lotion or a carrier oil, it's fine to do that as long as there's no fever present. Some other things that it helps with is leukorrhea, pruritus. You can use it in a sitz bath. You can use it for chronic cystitis. And this is really interesting. It helps with negative cyclical thoughts and obsessive thoughts, irritability, and restlessness. So that's always a fun one, right? So for those of you guys out there that have, you know, been feeling, you know, a lot of us have, you know, felt what's been going on in the world and all that fun stuff. And, you know, this might be something that might be really beneficial to you. And you can definitely check it out. So for right now, those are the ones that we're going over today. Next time, we'll go over the chemistry, and that'll be great. So I'm just going to invite you to just kind of get into your most relaxed, comfortable, seated position. And we're just going to go into some nice neck rolls. We're going to lower our chin to our chest. We're going to circle it to one side by bringing it over to one side. Inhaling and exhaling. Exhale it back to the center. Rest there. Enjoy the stretch. And, you know, go into the stretch, but if you're feeling a sensation, go ahead and back off. And we don't want you to get hyperextended or overstretched. You're like a rubber band. Keep stretching it. You don't want it to become really, really compromised in its integrity. And go ahead and take your attention for your chin to the other side. And your next exhale. And go ahead and stay there for a few breaths as you feel ready. We're going to go ahead and take it back down to the center. As you feel ready, if you are not already there. And to the other side when you're ready. I'm going to go into some shoulder rolls. Make them as big or as little as you need to. If it's easier for you, I invite you to go ahead and brace yourself. And if that's easier and you want to just do one arm at a time, so you're going to exhale on the exertion and let the breath come in naturally. And then as you feel good and ready, the opposite side. If you need to do faster, smaller circles, you could be doing this. You can take it bigger. You can take it really big if you need to. You can bend forward if you need to. And go ahead and play with that arm. And as you feel good and ready, go ahead and let it rest. And put both hands, palms facing down in your lap. Go ahead and I invite you to take 3 breaths here. Notice how that shoulder feels. Notice how the arm feels. Notice any sensations. And we're going to move on to the other arm when you're ready. It's funny, one side may feel different than the other. One direction might feel different than the other. So if it needs more attention, absolutely do what you need to do. Stay where you need to stay with it. I invite you to do that and to fully listen to your body. And take that time. As you're getting ready, the opposite way. And you're moving it with your breath. Exhale on the exertion. Inhale comes in naturally. And steady it when you're ready. Palms facing down in your laps as ready. Go ahead and go left to right, wiggling, getting a little bit movement into your waist. We're going to do some nice circles with our waist in a second. Now we're going to go the opposite way, wiggling the waist and just getting the body used to this really small movement for right now. And what that feels like. What does that feel like in the lower spine? Maybe you need to go slower. Maybe it needs to be more like this. Maybe you want it to be more slower. Maybe you want it to be luxurious. And as you're good and ready, you can go ahead and bring this forward. And I invite you to take your hands and go ahead and grab your shins as you go backwards, just to steady yourself. I invite you to take your elbows and place them down to give yourself a little bit of support so that you don't overstretch an area. And that's a nice modification. Your legs do not also need to be crossed. They can be crisscross applesauce. You can be sitting on them. Really do want you to be in a comfortable seated position. So oftentimes I check in with people and I just invite you to either switch legs if you want to, or to change your seated position before we go in the opposite direction. So as you feel ready, go ahead and get some nice more movements. Things may have changed a little bit. You might just need to gently check in with your waist and see what that feels like to you. Maybe your circles start off very small. Maybe they go a little bit deeper. Maybe you brace yourself in the middle and you go into a more full expression. If you are doing that, you will notice that there is this nice self-massage that I'm sure is happening for you right now in your lower sit bones. And as you feel good and ready, go ahead and take it to the opposite direction. So we're focusing mostly, as you can see, on the upper body today, getting some stretches in there. And then take these hands, and we're gonna interlace the fingers, okay? Like this. And if you're able to, we're just gonna press into the fingers and get a nice stretch in between the shoulder blades. If you like to, go ahead and lower your chin. And play around with it. You can lower the stretch. You can bring it chest height. You can start bringing it above your head. You can start looking over your shoulder and doing a little moon, little side moons, some moon salutations. It's evening. Outstanding. And you can go ahead and go into a nice side bend. Exhale it up. Exhale the arm down. Exhale the arm up. Exhale the arm over. Exhale the arm up. Exhale the arm down. Into the other side. Exhale the arm up. Exhale it over. Exhale it up. Exhale all the way down. Exhale this arm up. Exhale over. Exhale up. And exhale all the way down. Let's go ahead and do those a couple more times. And as you feel good and ready, you can make it a little bit more fluid and rock back and forth. Sometimes I take the full expression, I go all the way down, and I get this little like massage in there too. So I get like a massage on my side. Sometimes I stay, sometimes I lower, and sometimes I get an additional massage into the sit bones in. You play with this pose, see where it brings you, see how it feels. Great. We're going to go ahead and do a nice twist. And we're going to imagine there's a string from our belly button to our nose, keeping the integrity of our pose. When we actually turn, I ask you to just turn from the waist. So I don't know if it helps you, but you can definitely put your hands on your waist if you need to. Otherwise, you can just, turn like this. And the action is coming from the waist. Stay there for a couple of breaths. Exhale back into center. Stay here for a couple of breaths. Exhale to the other side. Exhale back to center. And exhale to the other side. And exhale to center. I'm going to go ahead and have you close your eyes. And go into yourself. Notice any sensations that you have. And whatever you have right now, if you need to switch your legs, change your position, I invite you to actually put your legs straight and just kind of shake them if you're on the floor. If you've had them crisscrossed for a while, go ahead and shake those legs out. And take whatever time you need. If you want to put your soles of the feet together and butterfly it out, that's fine too. Whatever feels like something that you need at this time while we're in between these poses. And take the time to do that for yourself now and listening to your body. And as you feel ready, go ahead and extend one foot and have the other foot in between either your knee and your groin or below your knee, okay? Just so we don't want to injure the joint area. And you can either have your foot flexed or pointed. If your knee is up off the floor, I invite you to take a pillow and stick it underneath your knee. Where we're actually going to want to feel the stretch right now is from this Achilles tendon running up all the way up the back of the calf, up your back of your quadricep, and into your sit bones, okay? So that's we're going to feel the stretch that we're kind of going into next. What we're going to do is we're going to exhale our hands up, shoulders back and down in place in their sockets, and we're just going to tilt forward from our hip crease. Take a couple of breaths there, and as you feel good and ready, exhale it up. If you need to have a micro bend in this knee, go ahead and put a micro bend in this knee. So if you only got this far, that's fantastic. As long as you're feeling that stretch and that sensation from the Achilles all the way up the back of the leg into the sit bones, that's fantastic. If you're feeling a sensation, you're like, oh, I don't know, should I stay here? Yeah, back off. And go, if you're here and you're like, ooh, yeah, I feel this, but I definitely couldn't be here for 3 minutes. Back off a little bit. Be there for 3 minutes instead. You'll get here another day and be able to stay there for 3 minutes. But you'll only get there if we don't break that Achilles tendon coming up the back, okay? So absolutely, we want to feel a sensation, but a lot of the times, a lot of us we force ourselves into a position like, I need to get my chest all the way to the ground and look perfect. And I'm like, I bet you your muscles later might not be happy with that. Check in with those little rubber bands in your body and make sure you're not overstretching them. Okay, great. So now actually we're going to take the breath and we're going to go into the center. So instead of going here, we're going into the center and we're folding there, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and exhale the hands up. Now, if that bothers you, you can put them in cactus. I invite you to even put them on your back. You can put them on the waist. But what I'm asking you to do is have your shoulder blades meet in the back, have a neutral spine, and your crown pointing straight or skyward. So that's like right here. It's going that way. You're not doing this, in other words. Okay. So go ahead and come in and out of that a couple of times and play with it. Play with this stretch right here. See what it feels like. You want to stay for at least a breath. So you're going to exhale and inhale, and then maybe come out of it. And then see if you can go back into it and stay for an additional breath. So maybe you go down, you're like, oh, to all the viewers today, I just wanted to put out there that, yeah, my accounts got like a little funky, and I don't know why I can't add friends and do things like that, in the sense that they were explaining to me that it's easier to actually follow the Mind Garden page by, I guess, I can't see it from your guys' side, but I think you like it, like a thumbs up or something like that, and then it allows you to see the page. I think so. So if you have any questions about that, that's what's been going on. And yes, this is the same account as April Schwann McHale. People keep asking me that. Yeah, it is. This is just my doing business as. It's the business name. So now we're going to take it back up, and we're going to go over the knee. So what's kind of nice about this is when you kind of get familiar with only a few poses, you start to actually know what the pose is, right? And just come out of that as you're ready. If you need an additional one, go back into it. You like to make yourself even in all three, go for it. Listen to your body right now. And give you a moment. I guess one thing I would notice about this pose when I went to go try to get deeper in it is that you want to have your sit bones grounded, which means that these guys are not popping up off the floor. Okay? So as you're going into that stretch, if this guy is popping up, you actually need to back off a little bit. Your sit bones should be fully grounded. So I'd rather you have more integrity in your spine and in the pose itself than to try to go really deep. I really do just want you to feel that sensation and how that changes from the Achilles tendon all the way to the sit bones. Okay, we're going to back off this leg because I'm sure it's been worked enough. We're just going to shake it out a little bit because it's probably like, really? Man. Okay. And we're going to go on to the other side. So whatever leg that was bent before, you're going to outstretch it. You can ground the sit bones by actually removing the flesh from them and doing an external rotation with the muscle and bringing it out. And then your sit bones will tend to ground more. As you kind of rise up and take that pelvic tilt out, we call it zipping up your jeans. Try that. And then, you know, your hand position could be here. It could be up here. It could be here. It could be interlaced in the back, pointed. It could be with a sock or a mitten. You're holding the mitten. Maybe not a mitten because you'll probably outstretch your glove. Maybe a sock. You know, any of those poses are fine. Or if you just want to leave your hands on your back, that's good as well. We're gonna go ahead and exhale down towards our toes. You can come in and out of it as you feel ready. Even if your legs are not outstretched and you're in a seated position, you can still do this stretch in chair, okay? So if you're sitting in a seated chair, you can still do this stretch. All the stretches I just showed you, except for the ones where we were extending our leg, the leg couldn't be extended, but you could go down this way for that stretch, okay? So any of these stretches can still be applied in what's called chair pose, okay? Or in a seated chair. You're gonna go down for your expression into the middle. Remember, we're bending at the hip crease. We're going into the sensation. But if we do feel that sensation, we do wanna back off of it. We don't wanna hyperextend. Make it feel good. Take however many breaths you need here. I have to say, this is my third class today, so I'm pretty tired. So I'm going in and out of it a little bit more gently today. Okay, and just go ahead, and if your legs are outstretched, just shake them out, wiggle them out. Okay. For those of you sitting on the floor, you can go ahead and bring your heels to your sit bones in either direction. You can go ahead and be on your toes and get a nice stretch. For those of you that are sitting in the chair, I invite you to do the other aspect of this. Now, a lot of times, eagle is a balancing pose, but today I'm just gonna have you do it seated, sitting on your toes if that feels okay to you. If not, that's fine. You can go ahead and put your feet flat. Some modifications for this pose is that you can put a rolled up blanket underneath your legs. Also, a pillow between your sit bones and your heels. You want your hips to be higher than your knees in this position. Oi. And we're gonna take our hands, they're outstretched like this. I'm gonna raise this up so it's easier for you guys to see. And with our, okay, so with my elbow, you're gonna take your right elbow and put it on top of your left elbow. You're gonna wrap your hand around and grab them like this. Yeah. You can either raise this gently, go right, go left, go down with it. And you should actually feel the stretch in between your shoulder blades, okay? So, breathe and exhale into it and go ahead and see what your expression is today and where you're kind of feeling it. You might want to stay there for a bit. You might want to move it around a little bit. So we're focusing on the exhale and letting the breath come in naturally. There is no pelvic tilt. Our back is neutral, and the crown of the head is rising tall. Take a few breaths here. Notice the sensations. And as you feel ready, you can let go of your hands And what you want to do is put the opposite hand on top, bend your elbows, and grab your hands. Ta-da! And you're on the other side. And go ahead and stretch that out with the breath. Good. Great. We're going to go back into the neck area and roll those shoulders backwards. And take a few breaths. Check in with your sit bones, your pelvic tilt, your neutral spine, and go in the opposite way with the shoulder rolls. Bring them all the way to your ears. Drop them down. Exhale the ears up. Exhale the shoulders up to the ears. The ears don't move. Oh wait, maybe you can wiggle them. Maybe they do move. Drop them down. Exhale them up. Drop them down. Exhale them up. Drop them down. I'm always having to check in with my pelvic tilt and make sure I'm not pitched forward. That's a personal thing that I tend to know that I do. So we all have those weird little things that we do trying to stay in alignment. So just once in a while, just check your spine, make sure you're still in a neutral spine, things like that. Go ahead, and if you're on your knees, go ahead and rise up on your knees, separate your knees, hip width apart, and just kind of take some gentle twists. If you're in a seated chair, I invite you to come up, but rise slowly out of the chair by grabbing one side, then the other, and then slowly getting up that way. And then very gently, I'm going to ask you to just slowly make some motions. For those of you that are wanting to do a self-massage, you can go ahead and put your hands into fists if you're able to do the full rotation quickly. If not, I'd like you to just stay here and just focus your exhale and match from going from one side on an exhale to an inhale on the other and matching that, okay? For the other practitioners or for the other yoginis, if you want to invite yourself to do a nice self-massage and do some petrissage to yourself in your sit bones, in your hips, and down your legs, up the front of them, to the back, down your calves, onto your feet if you want to. That's always super fun. Up the arms. Just very lightly. Tappy, tappy, tap, tap, tap it out. Awesome. Okay. We're doing that. Great. Great, 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 great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to breathe our arms up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Have you turn this way? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Back to center. Inhale. exhale, inhale, center. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Turn to the other side. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Turn to the middle. Go ahead and lower yourself down onto your heels. We're gonna go, for those of you that are in a seated position, I'll have you start your breath work. And you can go from 1 to 10, 10 to 1, 1 to 10, and just notice your breaths and keep count from pinky to pinky. No judgment or criticism, so like if you lose count, don't worry about it, just start over again. No biggie. Okay, for the others, we're gonna go ahead and do some cat and cows. Now you can have your wrist creases underneath here, your shoulder. They're about chest width apart or more, depending on your body makeup and how it feels to you. If this does not feel good, you can always go up onto fists if you have a wrist issue. If you have a knee issue, you can always either roll up your blanket or put your knees on a pillow. The action is going to come from your sit bones. So it's going to come from your sit bones. You're going to slowly round your back and lower your chin. You can ground your feet or keep them flat on the floor. Whatever's good for you. Take a couple of breaths here. And I invite you to now, when you take a couple of breaths, we're going to have you take 4 breaths and notice the different areas that your breath is going to, and note if it's holding any tension. And let go of that which doesn't serve you a positive purpose at this time. Okay, go ahead and what you're going to do is kind of raise your sit bones, sink your belly, and lift your chin, and look straight. Crown of the head going towards the ceiling. And you're just going to stay there for a couple of breaths. Go ahead and go in the opposite direction. And now try the other way. Go ahead and lower your belly and raise your chin. Gonna go ahead and put our hands outstretched in front of us. For those of us who are ready to go into the first expression of our downward dog this evening, you can go ahead and lift your hips upwards towards the sky, keeping a neutral back. You're gonna go from being at 90 degrees here to going from about this length to this length forward with your hand. Your heels are on the floor and your fingertips are tracking, keeping you balanced and in place. You're going to go up onto your tippy toes, bringing your hips up to the sky, and then flatten your back into a neutral spine. And then as you're ready, go ahead and pedal your feet out. And as you're ready, you'll settle into your downward dog for a couple of breaths. Gonna have you, as you become ready, you can either chaturanga into cobra, or you can drop your knees and lower your chest down. You're gonna be with your hands here at your chest and your elbows are by your sides. I'm gonna have you lift the palms of your hands up, your toes on the floor, crown of the head pointed forwards, looking at the floor. Or maybe at your drishti gaze, your focal point, which is a little about about half a foot in front of you. Go ahead and lower your hands in cobra and press into your first child's pose of the day. So now you can either put your hands like this on the floor. You can have a pillow in between your sit bones and your heels. You can have something underneath your knees. So go ahead and get any of those props that you need so that you are comfortable. Then we're gonna go into our first child's pose. You can have your hands up and you can also have them by your side. I invite you to rock in your child's pose. From one hip to the other hip with your breath, and then go in the opposite direction as you're ready. You'll also get this really nice massage on the front of your ankles and the tops of your feet, which is really kind of great. So it's a really nice self-massage. So I invite you to do that now. And then go in the opposite direction as you're ready. I'm going to actually have you from child's pose roll onto one of your sides. Put your arm underneath your head. Have your knees tucked in. And then I'm going to slowly have you roll to your back. Knees up in the air. And then have you just roll to the other side. You can outstretch the opposite arm and roll to the other side as you're ready. And go back and forth so you get a nice massage. So you're gonna roll from this side onto your back, raise the other arm, and go onto the other side. And then you're gonna do it again. You're gonna come over here. I actually brace myself with my arm outstretched to a T, with palm facing up until I'm onto my side, and then I just raise my hand to be under my ear. And go ahead and do this as many times as you may need. What's nice is you'll feel this kind of self-massage that happens from your knee on the side of your leg up to your hip. And then it will, if you lift your toes up off the floor, you'll get this nice lower sciatica massage. And then you'll go to the other side and you'll get a stretch and a massage over there as well. So I like it too because if I rotate on my shoulder and then bring my legs over sometimes, what's nice is I get 2 different massages. So I get a massage in my rotator cuff, then I get a massage in my sore hips and my sit bones and my sciatica, and then I come on to the other side, which is really nice. Feels really good. Check it out. And then as you feel good and ready, I settle on my back. I bring my legs up for legs up the wall, and I pick my sit bones up and stick my hands underneath. I have a micro bend in my knee, and then I just kind of rotate my ankles around. If you put your hands up, you can rotate your wrists too. If you really want to get into it, you can do the whole arm. And I mean, some people make some really big movements. I mean, do what you got to do. If you want to do this, whatever feels good to you, you'll get this weird kind of like a massage as you move around on your back. So what I like to do is alternate my feet, and it massages my sit bones and my sciatica, my lower back. And I'll make like little circles on the ceiling, and that's a great lower back massage. If you're worried that you're gonna fall over, put your hands down or bend your knees more. You can also grab the bottoms of your feet and take a full expression, and this is called Happy Baby. And you roll back and forth. We used to encourage people to laugh during it and feel joyful. Okay. And you can lower your legs, lift them up, lower them, lift them up, lower them, lift them up, and lower and hover with your arms a little bit off the floor, and then drop it all. So I'm going to have you raise your legs and your arms a little bit off the floor and tighten your core, and then exhale it out onto the floor. And do that 2 more times. Tighten everything up into the core. Let it go. Last time, guys. Swear. Tighten everything. Into the core. And let it go. Ah. We're getting ready for final relaxation. So get any props that you might need. Any extra layers of warmth. Pillows under your knees. Maybe a pillow under your neck. Maybe you need a hat on. I generally put a hat on. Whatever it is that you need today, you go get whatever's going to make you feel comfortable in your final relaxation pose. So that can be legs up the wall. It can be Shavasana or corpse. If you need to take any final expressions for you other practitioners out there, go ahead, and this is your yoga space at this time, and take any additional stretches, anything else that your body is looking for, needs, you noticed in your journey today. Go ahead and pay attention to that now. I invite you to do so. And as you're getting ready for final relaxation, if you need an eye pillow or anything else, that's great. That's fantastic. And while you guys are hanging out there, just notice where your breath is going. Notice the speed, how fast or slow it's going. So today we're gonna do a little imagery. Fun, fun, fun. I'm gonna have you imagine today that you are drawing a balloon. So go ahead and draw the actual balloon. Draw the string, if there's a string. Imagine the color of your balloon. What color is your balloon? Is your balloon two-dimensional or three-dimensional? Can you see it? Is the balloon latex or is it mylar? Is it shiny? What shape is the balloon? Is there a design on the balloon? Is the balloon just knotted? Does it have something to hold the air in instead? What does it have? How do you hold the balloon? Now the balloon is your focal point. Once it has been completed, and you know what that balloon looks like. Look at your balloon. Notice all its qualities, its characteristics. Notice the size. Is it on the floor of the balloon? Was the balloon only blown up with your air from your body? Or was it blown up with helium and it's flying towards the sky? Are you inside or outside with your balloon? Does your balloon have a weight on it? What does it look like? What's holding the balloon? Or who? Do you see a hand holding the balloon? Or is the balloon there tied to something? Does it have a weight? Now, imagine all the gray, stale air that you have and blow it into another balloon. Go ahead and tie the knot to that balloon and allow it go up to the sky. It's almost at your fingertips, and your fingertips have a needle in it. Go ahead and poke that balloon and let all that doesn't serve you a positive purpose at this time, go ahead and let it go. Notice yourself from your head all the way down to your toes. Do a nice little body scan, allowing the muscles to relax. And go ahead and tense them all, and then let them all relax. Go ahead and tighten all the muscles in your body again. And the inhale and exhale out all that doesn't serve you a positive purpose at this time. You can sigh it out, you can make it audible, whatever feels good to you guys. Now take your attention up to the very top of your head and notice how it feels right now. Is there any tension? You can go ahead and ask it to relax and see what happens. And go through each muscle group all the way down to your toes and your fingertips. And as you get towards your toes, start back up at the top of your head and try it one more time and see if it feels different from the first time you tried it. Great. And go ahead and take a notice of your next 10 breaths. And allow the next 4 breaths. Allow you to bring a little bit more sensation into your lungs and allow the breath to deepen a little bit as you move your fingertips and toes. So go ahead and allow your breath to come back into your body and deepen a little bit more. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And as you feel ready, roll up onto one side. Your arm can be underneath your ear, other hand in front of your belly or your face or your chest, whatever's comfortable. As you feel ready, take your time and bring yourself to a seated position. Great. And just kind of put one hand on your heart, one hand on your solar plexus. Allow your eyes to close. And just go into yourself. Notice how you feel. I want you to go ahead and thank yourself for giving yourself this time of self-care, self-compassion. Hopefully you feel a little bit more flexible, a little bit more stretched out, a little more relaxed. I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great weekend and that you get to do something that you're looking forward to. I close a couple of different ways. So I'm going to say Tashi Delay. I'm going to say I bow to the light within you. Namaste. And I'll also say peace be with you. Thank you from Muna Meditation and More. The website's at www.omm.store. I think you have to go all the way down to the bottom of the first page, and on the right-hand side, there's a little link that says Shop Now, I think. Otherwise, you can go to the Mind Garden page, and it brings you to the products page, if that's something you're interested in. Thank you. Have a great day.